to the Building and Physical Premises Safety Training. As you go through this training, you will notice a green icon along with the word Resources in the upper right portion of your screen. Clicking the icon will open a window with information on the images used in this presentation. Clicking the Resources will allow you to learn more about the information used to create this training. In addition, some slides contain images, videos, or links that make this presentation more interactive. Clicking on these links will open information in new areas and will not impact the presentation view. This presentation also gives you the option to view subtitles, pause the slide, or replay the slide from the beginning. You may navigate to all the slides within the presentation using the sidebar on the left, but all slides within this presentation must be viewed in order for you to continue. This training provides trainees with information on building and physical premises safety. In partnership with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, this training is being offered by the NC Child Care Health and Safety Resource Center, a program of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and is intended to meet applicable NC Child Care rules set forth under 10A NCAC 09.1102 Centers and .1703 FCCH. Those who satisfactorily complete the training will receive a certificate of completion for 1 contact hour. The university does not require this training. Completing this training does not qualify participants as certified medical or healthcare professionals, nor does it replace the need to consult a healthcare professional for guidance. Nothing in this training, including any and all contents, materials, or information provided as part of this training, is or should be considered or used as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Never disregard or avoid professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read, heard, or seen as part of this training. Contact a child care health consultant for implementation guidance. Today's training will cover how to create a safer physical environment indoors and outdoors, examples of common hazards that can cause injury to young children, and how to prevent injury and promote safe practices. The North Carolina Child Care rules consider both the indoor and outdoor areas of the facility to be part of the building and physical premises. This includes natural areas, outbuildings, dwellings, vehicles, parking lots, driveways, and other structures located on the property. As you move through the training, consider all of these areas included in the physical premises. According to the Centers for Disease Control, unintentional injuries are the leading cause of death among children age 1 and older. For children under a year old, suffocation is the leading cause of injury death. In children ages 1 to 4, drowning is the leading cause of death from injury. Falls and burns are the most common causes of non-fatal injury for all ages. Take a moment to consider why this is. While there may be many factors that can impact a child's injury risk, much of it is related to children being curious learners. They explore their environment through play, and they are risk takers who may not yet realize the risks or danger around them. Children are also unable to accurately judge height and distance, and they are still developing coordination skills. Consider the quote on screen from U.S. Surgeon General C. Everett Koop. If a disease were killing our children in the proportions that injuries are, people would be outraged and demand that this killer be stopped. As you go along in this training, keep this quote in mind. Think about how you can help limit the hazards that can contribute to these injuries. Distinguishing risks from hazards will guide decisions about the safety of indoor and outdoor environments or activities. While risk can indicate the likelihood of a hazard occurring, in this context, risk will be discussed as something that is known and requires a judgment or decision to be made. For example, a child learns that jumping off a playground toy can lead to him getting hurt. Risks are opportunities for children to learn to assess a situation, make a judgment or decision, and act accordingly. Through this process, they develop an understanding of their environment and their own personal strengths and limitations. A hazard, on the other hand, is something that is not seen or known by the child. Therefore, a judgment or decision cannot be made. The goal of an early childhood education program is to provide a challenging and hazard-free environment, allowing children to make independent yet safe decisions to foster their growth and development. As an early educator, you play an important role in preventing injury and keeping children safe. Since children often spend much of their day at a child care facility, children and families depend on you to provide a safe environment away from home. In addition, the trusting relationship established with children and their families creates an opportunity to model safe and healthy practices. Some of the safety and modeling responsibilities of early educators are: always practice safe behavior. Children will follow your example. Talk to children about safety in a developmentally appropriate way. Remove and report broken or damaged equipment, such as classroom materials, outdoor play equipment, doors, windows, and security devices, and review emergency procedures with both the staff and the children. Next, let's review what it means to actively supervise children. To identify and respond to hazards, children must be actively supervised at all times. Active supervision involves looking out for, listening to, and engaging with children. Helping to create a safe learning environment prevents injuries. You should arrange spaces for best visibility. This can include using waist-high or shorter furniture, placing tall furniture against the wall, and keeping open spaces free of clutter. Also, you should ensure there is adequate lighting in all areas children are present. At rest time, the lights can be dimmed, but make sure you are able to see the children at all times. Positioning yourself so you can see and hear children and give immediate assistance is another important component of active supervision. Always orient your body so children can be seen and heard. Spread out and move around and stay close to children who may need additional support. Make sure to account for children, particularly during transitions. Finally, while it's important to allow young children to explore their learning environment, you must anticipate a child's behavior to keep him safe. Later in this training, you will be able to access additional resources on active supervision. Take a moment to think about how you communicate in your facility, both internally and with external groups, such as parents or emergency services. While there are several methods of communication, our North Carolina child care rules have certain requirements relating to communication. In an emergency, an easily accessible working telephone must be available in both family child care homes and centers at all times during operating hours. Telephone numbers for the fire department, law enforcement office, emergency medical service, and poison control center must be posted in a visible location. Additionally, a floor plan and evacuation diagram should be posted in all rooms and at exit doors. Child care health consultants, along with Division of Child Development and Early Education child care consultants, monitor safety in both centers and family child care homes. Child care centers also have additional requirements. Fire inspections are required once a year. the center must notify the fire inspector in ample time before the next annual inspection is due. An environmental health specialist will also inspect the center for sanitation and safety compliance twice a year. Facilities must receive a rating of approved or superior to remain open. Centers will have an initial building code inspection. However, a new building inspection is only required if the center wants to use space not previously approved for childcare, if the building is renovated and new construction was added, or if the facility wants to remove a restriction on the permit. In family child care homes, fire, building, or environmental health inspections are not required by North Carolina Division of Child Development and Early Education rule. However, local ordinances may require additional inspections. Regardless of whether you have children and adults with disabilities in your program, the facility should be accessible to individuals of all abilities. Accessibility includes equal access to buildings, toilets, sinks, drinking fountains, outdoor play areas, meal and snack areas, and all classroom and therapy areas. Accessible parking should be available and close to an accessible entrance. If there are stairs, a ramp should also be available. Stairs should have handrails. Entrances and exits should not be obstructed. Doors should be able to accommodate wheelchairs. Carpet should be tightly woven and secured to avoid tripping hazards. Accessible restrooms should be present. Adaptive equipment, toys, communication devices, and wheelchairs for children with special health care needs should be available. Staff should be trained in the use of communication devices and adaptive equipment. Facilities should have uncluttered play space that allows staff to see and interact with children and allows children to move around without obstruction. Activities should be inclusive of all children. Toys should be reachable by all children and organized in visible containers so they can independently choose what they want to play with. Children should receive therapy in their natural environment in the classroom or on the playground. Protecting children, families, staff, and visitors includes knowing who is inside the building at all times. According to North Carolina child care rules, children must be signed in and out daily on arrival and departure. Facilities must also know which adults are inside the building. The parents of children who are enrolled at the facility must be allowed access during operating hours, but must notify the administrator of their presence. Additionally, any individual with a reportable conviction is not permitted to be on the premises. This slide lists some of the potential hazards in both the indoor and outdoor learning environment, some of which were mentioned previously in this training. The next part of this presentation will include a discussion of how to avoid fires and burns, lead, choking and suffocation, slips, trips, and falls, outdoor injuries, and sun, weather, water, and transportation safety hazards. Let's begin with a discussion of fire and burn prevention. Both child care centers and homes have several safety requirements they must follow. These include: always check product labels for proper storage instructions. Many materials are considered combustible, which mean they may pose a fire hazard. Protective screens must be attached to fireplaces or floor heaters. This can help prevent children from getting burned, as well as prevent objects from being thrown into them. Appliances that heat up, such as bottle warmers and their cords, must not be accessible to children. Electrical outlets must be inaccessible by being covered or located behind something that cannot be moved by a child. Another option is to have child-safe outlets installed. Electrical cords may not be frayed, cracked, or where children can reach. Finally, extension cords may not be used in centers unless they are approved by the local fire inspector and are discouraged for use in family child care homes. The hazardous material training has additional advice on fire safety. Check out that training for more information. In an emergency, your first priority is to remove yourself and the children from the facility safely and quickly. Putting out the fire is secondary. Do not try to put out a fire if you have not been trained in how to safely use a fire extinguisher. Both smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, or dual detectors, should be installed in child care facilities. Often a result of fire or combustion, carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless, toxic gas. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include headache, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, and shortness of breath. Other likely causes of carbon monoxide include exhaust from cars, gas-powered equipment, tobacco smoke, stoves, and heaters. Batteries for detectors, such as smoke alarms, should be checked monthly and a new battery installed annually. If an alarm chirps warning that the battery is low, replace the battery right away. Contact the local fire marshal for questions about the number of required smoke alarms. Fire extinguishers must be present in both centers and homes, and sprinkler systems may be required in centers, depending on the classification of the building. To find out if they are required, ask the local fire or building inspector. Fire extinguishers should be inspected and maintained annually or when recommended by the manufacturer's instructions. To escape a fire, follow these steps. Activate the fire alarm. Evacuate immediately. Gather children and assist those who need help. Use a crib with wheels, stroller, or baby buggy to evacuate non-mobile children. Have a plan to evacuate anyone in the facility who may have a physical disability. Gather documents. Take attendance sheets, the ready-to-go file, and ready-to-go kit with you as you leave the building. Shut the classroom door after everyone has exited. Meet at a designated meeting place outdoors. Confirm that someone called 911. Check attendance sheets and visitor sign-in sheets, and then call families. Remain at the safe meeting place until you are told it is safe to return to normal activities or other instructions are given. Both centers and family child care homes must practice the plan by having fire drills monthly. These drills should be done at different times during the day throughout the year. Once the drill is over, document the drill on the emergency drill log and report. In addition, facilities must conduct a shelter-in-place or lockdown drill every 3 months. More information on these can be found in the Emergency Preparedness and Response in Child Care Training. Because the skin of young children is thinner than that of an adult, children can suffer burns more easily. As a result, the most common burn to young children is a scald from hot liquids, such as soup. In order to reduce the risk to children, educators should stir up infant foods carefully to distribute the heat evenly. Keep hot liquids and foods out of reach of children. This includes bottle warmers, which must be used according to the manufacturer's instructions. Check the temperature of the water to be certain the warmer is not malfunctioning or overheating. Bottles and infant foods should never be warmed in a microwave oven. Do not hold children while preparing bottles or removing bottles from bottle warmers. Finally, any water within a child's reach, including tap water, must not be more than 110 degrees Fahrenheit. For young children, water that is over 120 degrees Fahrenheit is a burn hazard. Let's now turn our attention to lead, a toxic substance that is still found in many everyday objects. Take a moment to view the items on screen. Which of these items do you think may contain lead? While some choices may be more obvious than others, the answer is all of them. Each of these items could contain lead. It can be found in everyday items such as paint, often found in houses built before 1978, the year lead paint was banned for use in residential homes. House or car keys, glazed, imported, or vintage pottery or ceramics. Paint and plastics in toys, depending on where they are made. Pipes in older buildings or wells can leach lead into drinking water. Jewelry, particularly costume jewelry. Imported candies, ceremonial powders or cosmetics, and spices. And vinyl mini blinds. It's important to note that many items in each of these categories do not contain lead and are safe. However, it is vital you understand the risks. Lead is highly toxic, and any exposure is dangerous for young children. All areas accessible to children must be free of lead. For questions about lead hazards, contact your local environmental health specialist. As mentioned, lead is highly toxic, and exposure is particularly dangerous for young children. So much so that child care centers are required to test all water outlets used for drinking or food preparation every 3 years. Tests must also be done to any impacted faucets or outlets within 30 days of completion of renovations or repairs that impact those drinking water service lines. A child's increased risk is often due to their curiosity and frequent hand-to-mouth exposure, playing closer to the ground, rapidly developing body, which makes harm to body cells a bigger concern, eating and drinking more often as compared to older children or adults. Children exposed to low blood levels of lead can experience behavioral issues, decreased learning abilities and IQ, and attention deficit disorders. With increased levels of exposure, muscle and bone growth as well as hearing is affected. At high levels, children experience anemia, as well as damage to the kidneys and the brain. Any item that can block a child's airway is a choking hazard, which can lead to suffocation and death. Examples of food choking hazards that should be avoided for children under age 4 include hot dogs and other meat sticks, whether whole or sliced into rounds, raw carrot rounds, whole grapes, hard candy, nuts and seeds, raw peas, hard pretzels, chips, peanuts, and popcorn, rice cakes, marshmallows, spoonfuls of peanut butter, and large chunks of meat. Food given to infants should be cut into 1/4 inch pieces or smaller to prevent choking, and food for toddlers should be cut into no more than 1/2 inch pieces. Children should always be supervised while eating and drinking. Staff should be seated and in arm's reach of children under age 3 that are eating or drinking. Monitor the size of food that they are eating and make sure they are not stuffing their mouths full. Non-food items that can pose choking and suffocation hazards are items such as coins and buttons, balloons, which are prohibited for children of all ages, small balls, marbles, small hair bows, barrettes, rubber bands, jump ropes, pen or marker caps, crayon pieces, and button batteries and magnets. Button batteries are especially dangerous around young children. Not only do they represent a choking hazard, but if ingested, they can cause severe burns to the child's airway. The items you see starred on the screen are prohibited for children under 3 years of age by North Carolina child care rules. Plastic bags, toys with small parts, toys that can fit entirely in a child's mouth, and foam rubber or styrofoam. Any foam rubber and styrofoam is prohibited if it can easily be torn apart. With supervision, styrofoam plates for eating and larger pieces of foam rubber used for art activities are allowed. Here is an example of a small parts or choke tube tester. If items fit into this tube, they represent a choking hazard to children. These testers can be ordered online or from many school supply stores. Along with choking, strangulation remains one of the most common fatal injuries to young children. To help prevent this, strings and cords long enough to circle around a child's neck should not be accessible. Jump ropes and rubber bands are prohibited for children under 5 without supervision by North Carolina child care rules. Be careful with dramatic play items such as purses or hats with straps and ties or scarves that could entangle a child. Pacifiers should not be attached to strings or ribbons. Strings from jackets and sweatshirts should be removed, and drawstrings on pants should not extend more than 3 inches, and cords on window blinds should be out of reach of children. For additional information on prevention of strangulation, suffocation, and entrapment in cribs, refer to the Infant Toddler Safe Sleep and SIDS Prevention, known as ITS SIDS training. Falls lead the way in common non-fatal injuries to children. These trips, falls, or crush injuries can result in broken bones and skull or brain injuries, such as concussions. Items that represent crush hazards for children include televisions, bookcases, furniture, and dressers that can tip over. You should secure heavy furniture and televisions to the wall with brackets, braces, or wall straps, or place on a sturdy table. Heavy objects and toys or books should be placed low on shelves. Safety gates should be installed at the top and bottom of stairs, and windows should be locked. Children should be strapped in, if a safety strap is present, and supervised when using a bouncy chair, high chair, swing, stroller, car seat, or anywhere else he or she could fall from. When changing a child's diaper, always keep one hand on the child. Remove any safety straps from diaper changing tables. To prevent trips and slips, clean up all spills immediately. Make sure rugs are not frayed or worn at the edges and have a non-slip pad to keep them from sliding. Outdoors, you should be aware of uneven surfaces or roots in the ground that can be tripping hazards. Also, ensure that all play areas have appropriate and adequate surfacing materials. Finally, you should monitor stationary play equipment where children can climb. While cuts and scrapes are common in the child care setting, you should work to minimize the numbers of times they happen. Examples of hazards that can cause children to be cut, scraped, bruised, or strangled include sharp edges, rust, loose nails or other protrusions, splinters, and pinch or crush points. Sharp edges and corners should be rounded or capped with soft material. Rusted materials should be replaced or repainted, as these surfaces can become jagged. All nails and bolts should be flush with outer surface and not protrude. Any protrusions not able to be flush should be covered. All wood railings should be sanded and treated to prevent splintering of wood. Pinch and crush points can be found where pieces move against each other or against a stationary component. Examples include steering wheels on play equipment and drawers or doors that are opening or closing. Active supervision is critical when children are in an outdoor learning environment. All play equipment should be developmentally appropriate for the age group of the children. One early educator in each center must complete training in playground safety. This training addresses safety hazards, supervision, maintenance, and age and developmentally appropriate playground materials and equipment. A monthly playground inspection must be conducted by an early educator trained in playground safety to ensure a quality environment. The outdoor play area must be protected by a fence that is a minimum of 4 feet high, and the top of the fence must be free of protrusions. In hot summer months, place metal equipment, such as slides, in the shade to prevent overheated play surfaces. This helps to prevent hot play surfaces from burning children. Children should be protected from the sun with sunscreen, shade, or sun-safe clothing when outside. This is especially true during what tends to be the hottest portion of the day, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Shade is the best sun protection for children under 6 months of age who cannot use sunscreen. When children can use sunscreen, it should be broad spectrum, provide protection against UVA and UVB rays, and should have a sun protection factor of 15 SPF or higher. Apply a generous amount and reapply often. A medication permission form for topical ointments must be on file for all children that use sunscreen. Clothing is another important part of sun safety. Sun-safe clothing is clothing that you cannot see through. Children should have access to and be encouraged to drink water when outside, as this will help limit the chances of dehydration. Beyond just sun safety, the weather and weather extremes can impact the safety of children in our care. Children should get outdoor playtime each day, and playtime should be limited only when the charts and guide indicate that conditions are unsafe. In cases of rain or snow, early educators can still choose to go outdoors if children have appropriate clothing or they are under a covered area, and the temperatures still fall within the acceptable range. Follow the guidelines specified on the Child Care Weather Watch Chart and the Air Quality Color Guide to determine if weather conditions are safe for children. For days that fall into the Code Orange air quality category, children must not be outside participating in physical activity for more than 1 hour between noon and 8 p.m. For Code Red days, children must not be outside participating in physical activity during these times for more than 15 minutes. On days listed as Code Purple or above, children must not be outside participating in any physical activities between noon and 8 p.m. While bugs are everywhere, there are a few simple steps that you can take to lessen the chances of children getting bitten or stung while playing. Always remove standing water from the premises. Mosquitoes carry a host of diseases and will breed in even a tiny amount of standing water. As with mosquitoes, ticks are a vector, meaning they can spread disease through bites. When you come in from extended time in a wooded area, make sure to check yourself and the children in your care. Insect repellent is a good way to limit the likelihood of getting bitten. However, if insect repellent is used, a medication administration permission form must be completed and the repellent must be kept in locked storage. Insects, rodents, and other vermin must be kept out of child care facilities. Any traps to keep these animals out must be placed in areas inaccessible to children. Only pesticides which have been registered with the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services may be used. All pesticides must be used by following the directions on the label, and they must be stored in a locked storage room or cabinet separate from foods and medications. Pesticides must not be applied or used when children are present in the area. Only children ages 3 and older may do aquatic activities such as swimming. However, all children may participate in water table play, slip and slide activities, or sprinklers. Be aware that wading pools are considered swimming pools rather than water play centers. Supervision around any water play is important. Drowning can happen in even a very small amount of water. For example, an infant can drown in less than 2 inches of water. Water play centers, including toys, shall be cleaned and sanitized at least daily or when visibly soiled. Water play is prohibited during the outbreak and investigation of communicable diseases. Educational activities, such as observing tadpoles, exploring mud, or learning about rocks and vegetation, is allowed and encouraged. And swimming pools located on the child care grounds must have a fence that is locked when the pool is not in use. Facilities are not allowed to have hot tubs, spas, saunas or steam rooms, portable wading pools, natural bodies of water, and any unfiltered, non-disinfected water containers. Child care centers are required to have transportation procedures posted in a place that can easily be seen by anyone dropping off or picking up children. Family child care homes should establish safe pickup and drop-off procedures in a manner consistent with regulations. These procedures should be shared with parents. If your facility transports children, it is required that those involved take a training entitled Precautions in Transporting Children, a training that will be covered in another unit. Several documents guide the response to emergency situations in childcare. One of these, the Emergency Medical Care Plan, describes who is responsible for carrying out different activities in an emergency. This written plan must be complete and reviewed with staff annually, and every time the plan is revised. Emergency medical information must be on file, giving instructions and authorization from the parent or guardian to seek emergency medical care for their child. A medical action plan is required for any child with healthcare needs, such as allergies, asthma, or other chronic conditions that require specialized health services. North Carolina child care rules require that all early educators who provide direct care or accompany children when they are off premises successfully complete CPR and first aid training appropriate to the ages of children in care. The certification must be completed within the first 90 days of employment and kept current. A CPR and first aid trained early educator must be present with children at all times. A first aid information sheet, available from the North Carolina Child Care Health and Safety Resource Center, must be posted in all facilities in a place where it can be seen. Additional information on this topic can be found in several other trainings, including the Medication in Child Care and Prevention and Response to Emergencies Due to Food and Allergic Reactions trainings. If a child is injured, involved in a medication administration error, or receives medical treatment by a healthcare professional as a result of an incident occurring while the child is in care, always complete an incident report. It should be signed by the staff member involved and the parent or guardian. Once complete and signed, place it in the child's file. If medical treatment is required for the child, submit the completed incident report within 7 calendar days to the local child care licensing consultant. Each time an incident report is filled out, record the report in a cumulative incident log, which is kept in a central location for all classrooms. The required forms are found on the Division of Child Development and Early Education website and must be retained as long as the child is in care and for 1 year after the child leaves. Thank you for your time and attention in this training. Continue on to complete the training and earn your certificate.